2. Λειτουργεί, πώς λειτουργεί αυτό? Ακούγεται. Ακούγεται αυτό τώρα, ακούγομαι κανονικά. Ωραία. Άφησε τα ονόματα, άμα θες, Γιώργη. Είναι και άλλοι έξω. Πού είναι οι οργανωτές? Μάθουμε αν έχει και άλλους έξω για να ξεκινήσω. Θα τους φωνάξουμε λίγο. Δεν μπορώ να τους φωνάξω εγώ.
Does it work? 1, 2, 3, not yet.
Γιατί δεν μπορώ να τους φωνάξω, πρέπει να βγω έξω. It's working, no?
1, 2, 3, 4. Huh? Is it?
I think it's working.
Okay, good.
But we're going to be...
I don't know. Is it? It's here.
Okay. I'm waiting for 1-2 minutes. It has to be in English. Θα είναι στα αγγλικά, όπως καταλάβουμε όλοι, αλλά περιμένουμε 1-2 λεπτά μέχρι να μαζευτεί ο κόσμος, γιατί κάνουμε αλλαγή βάρδιας. Θέλεις εσύ να πας να δεις, Κώστα, ποιοι είναι για να το κλείσουμε? Okay. Θα ξεκινήσω με λίγα introductions και μετά βάλουμε την παρουσίαση που είναι οι αγορές. Ωραία. Θα σου πω όταν είμαι έτοιμος να το πάρεις. Okay. I hear silence, which means that whoever wanted to come, at least at this point, has arrived. Hopefully more people will join us. So thanks for coming and for joining us. Whoever cannot see me, and they're sitting behind me, I don't know what to do, but I'm going to wave my hand from the behind so I can see you and you can see me. We are organizing this event, and Prodexpo gave us a slot, kindly gave us a slot, because what we want to introduce slowly in the Greek real estate market, in the Greek as well in the discussion, in the agenda, is that we are not alone in this world. We cannot see Greece isolated from the neighboring countries. We cannot see Greece as one-off, but our skill sets, our capacity, our investment capacity, financing capacity, asset management capacity, brokerage capacity, advisory capacity, deal sourcing capacity, operational capacity can also be used, and can also, with obviously partnerships, with a lot of hard work, but also because there are a lot of opportunities as well in the wider region. The same applies to the wider region who looks at us. We have seen in the past 2 years, since we became through our affiliation, part of the Colliers family, that a lot of investors who are very active in Southeast Europe. Southeast Europe, it's called the Balkans for some, but also it includes Cyprus as well, and other countries like Turkey, Israel, and so on, that they are very active as well. If they're active, let's say, in Romania, Serbia, Albania, or Cyprus, they're also looking at Greece and vice versa. In the past, Greece, for those who might remember, before the crisis, was very active in the region. Through the Greek banks, through also some of the main developers, corporate retailers and others, they were actually very, very active in helping the growth of the real estate market in this region. But I'm afraid because of the crisis and some decisions had to be made, a lot of the Greek banks had to withdraw, therefore the support, the contacts and everything was not there, but a lot stayed and actually were very successful. At the same time, some investors who understand the profile of Southeast Europe and the risk appetite and the opportunities there are very willing to place that bet on the growth prospect, because the whole region, if you see Europe is, someone might say, is compared at least to the US and other obviously advancing economies or advancing regions, as Mario Draghi put it in his recent report, Europe, if it doesn't change the way it's growing, will have a problem very soon, and will be outpaced, obviously, by China, India, and other parts of the world. and we are not catching up with US. We were at the same, more or less level, but in the past 10, 20 years, US has outpaced us, which means that Europe is not growing, generally speaking. But the only region within Europe which can grow and has the possibility to grow, because it still has a lot of potential, is actually our region. And because it's our region, we should not just be confined to what we know best, but we should open up again with a lot of confidence and synergies and cooperation. And that's why, and I finished my introductory speech, why we wanted to start introducing the markets. We feel that this is timely for us to start kicking off the debate for the first time. So without further ado, I have asked the distinguished colleagues from the Colliers network to join us. I'll start with Stela, the lady sitting with us, Stela Dhami, from Managing Partner in Colliers Albania. So we'll speak about Albania. We have Steve Froustis, who is going to speak about Colliers Serbia. Interesting background, Steve. One of those who went to Serbia and he stayed there and he's actually doing business there very successfully. We have together with us from Bucharest, Romania, Robert Miklo. I'm talking about Romania and its success story as well. And Socrates, who also has helped us a lot on general capital markets, who will bring us the Cyprus perspective. And myself, who I'm going to make a quick introduction as well about where Greece is, just to put things in perspective. So without further ado, we can start with the presentation, please. And thank you for joining us. So I hope everybody can see the presentation wherever you're sitting. If you're sitting behind me and I'm an obstacle on the presentation, you can move around. So the Greek market, very quickly. It's not things you don't know, but we want to focus on some key points. 2014 is not the best year. We had better years, but I think things are improving. And we had the reasons why it's not the best year, because the prices started going up, cost of financing went up, and I think we feel that there is insufficient available capital from the, I don't know what's happening there. There is something on the back. Can you see? Anyway, there's insufficient available capital from the local players, national players. Even though they say we can invest, our understanding is that they would like to get more funding for what they have in their pipeline, and therefore we do feel that there's going to be opportunities for them, and they're actually doing it, to dispose existing portfolios. At the same time, prices are kind of peaking and reaching pre-financials level, which means that we are not right now just a destination where you can buy cheap. You have to be smart as well. It's not the easiest play, like buy cheap, wait until the economy grows and then sell. And there is, though a lot of potential on regeneration, redevelopment, repositioning. That's where we see the majority of investors going in. And still some good returns compared with other markets, comparable markets with us in the Mediterranean, of prime assets. Plus, there is investment on the privatization infrastructure, which improves things, improves transportation, improves aspects related also to logistics. And as we all know, the main thing is that tourism is driving everything, and therefore is driving as well investment in the hospitality sector. However, that investment is it has its own constraints, because costs are going up. There are certain planning complexities that remain, and skill shortages, especially in the construction industry. So we are in this environment whereby there are opportunities. There is not so much available local capital as we would like to, but still, I think overall Greece is still competitive in terms of its returns. And the main opportunities lie, obviously, hotel resorts, redevelops, repositionings, value-add investments, new urban generation from Ellinikon to other projects that, ex-industrial estates or gentrification projects, you may so. Living assets, there is this theme here was about residential. There is so much potential, as long as we don't just sell to Golden Visa, but we also look at the local market, what it wants. The Rio is a very interesting story, as well as opportunities to refinance or provide new capital. I said the Rio is a very interesting story for one and only reason, because people forget what is happening right now. The servicers are accumulating real estate. So all the NPLs from bad loans, that have not been restructured and become whatever, orange, green, they're actually being auctioned the collaterals, and who buys? It seems that it's not the third parties that we all want. It's more than 80% is actually the servicer through some credit facilities. Not the servicers, but the funds who have bought the loans through the services via credit facilities they have created for this reason. So we feel that in the next 3-4 years, there will be an accumulation of real estate managed by the services of more than 5 or even close to 7 billion, which they need to be repossessed, we need to be sold. And these are not prime assets, and that will become a challenge. So this is something we see more and more becoming a theme, investment theme. At the same time, there was so much discussion about residential, I'm not going to touch upon, but however, it's important to mention that we have an affordability challenge. We are not very happy where we are in terms of how prices grow and household income. One thing is very important, it's not that we are back to 2008 numbers. This is irrelevant. What is relevant is we are, compared to 2015, we have actually grow the average price by 50%. 50%. The salaries haven't grown as much. The disposable income hasn't grown as much. Therefore, you need to understand who, from a local population, the one who actually wants to live here, is able to buy, and we have distortions in the market on top of that. We don't have just the second house market, which is fine, but we have distortions because of the Airbnb, the golden visa, and other aspects, as well as we had a peak during the pandemic of expats wanting to buy houses, obviously with more disposable income. And we will see correction one way or another, but we also would need intervention, more intervention. And that's what is happening in the residential market, because that's what makes money right now, only luxury product. It does make money, and whoever can afford, I'm sure there is good, very good product for these people in the market, and amazing projects as well. Office sector is kind of stable. We didn't have faced the same issues that the rest of Europe, Western Europe has faced, because we need to admit we didn't have a very good stock. Therefore, any good product is actually even pre-let when it goes to the market, because we have a lot of corporates who are not looking to expand or rent more space, but they are looking to move to better space. Mm-hmm. So until that stops, we still can build better buildings. And we see that all the time, starting from the big four, we are and the Greek banks, to insurance companies, and then obviously to everyone, international corporates, through the Colliers network, working with quite a few, from the Nokias, the Googles, the Microsoft, and so on, who are all looking to improve their, one way or another, their existing space, even if they're staying where they are. And that shows you something. The retail market is actually kind of stabilizing, peaking in certain high-end locations, and we have, when I say high-end, it's not just in the center of Athens, but actually very touristic destinations. We have some new projects that are actually attracting quite luxury brands, especially in new marinas or in places like where high-end tourism goes. And at the same time, e-commerce is obviously continuing to impact as well, which brings us to the next point, which is logistics. And logistics, it is only a growth story, and more interest is going there. I think it's the next hot sector for Greece and international investors right now. And yes, the cap rates are going down, rents are going up, but we still have bad stock. We still need to improve that. And logistics is also about modernization, technology, and so on. And to summarize, without going too much in detail on the hospitality sector, the focus has shifted towards luxury segments. We all want to be in 5-star, amazing hotels, but we cannot afford actually to go there and stay. So suddenly, even though we are proud about the new product, it's actually not so much for the locals, but for those who can afford. And that's amazing, because you can bring different type of tourism and good returns, but we need also to see the other aspects, either less established location or work on the alternative products, and that should come. Affordable tourism, let's call it, and also work on the seasonality, because there are more things to do except from, as we have said, from May to September. Climate change will help, obviously, because it becomes hotter and therefore more months, but that's not the solution to the problem. But still, a lot of projects in the pipeline, a lot of excitement in the sector, a lot of big brands, ultra luxury brands are coming and establishing themselves. I'll stop here with one question that obviously is not to be answered, but I asked a hotelier, very senior hotelier, and I'm new to this. The last 5 years I'm focused on hospitality. What was around in these brands 5, 6 years ago in Greece? Which of those brands? And the answer is maybe only one. In Grand Bretagne, by the way.
Yeah.
So you can see what has been happening in the sector.
In 5 years.
So that is the starting point of where we are and why we want to see outside as well. So I pass it on to you to talk about Albania.
Thank you.
I think it's fascinating when you first presented Albania.
Yeah.
And I think it will be fascinating for everyone
Sure.
to see the opportunities as well. So
Yeah.
Stella, the floor is yours.
Ioannis, first of all, thank you for bringing us all together here. I would say you're the champion of the region. You're holding that baton very nice and tightly for all of us. You just passed it on to me. No, honestly, I would really like to thank you for that, because sometimes we just get stuck in our own day-to-day tasks and we forget to look at the wider picture. So for sure, it is very important for us to see at the wider picture. It's important for us to consider our region as one whole big country, I would say, because population-wise, it's not that we are that big if you consider us fully Southeastern Europe. So Albania, of course, is very small. We're 3 million people, but last year we faced a new challenge, which you have faced many years ago. We received about 10 million visitors to Albania. So that was a very, very interesting change for us. Maybe a change that we were not prepared for and probably still are not prepared for. However, that means there's a lot to do in that direction. I would like to highlight tourism because I think it's an amazing growth area for Albania and also for our wider region. So Albania has decided, this current government, to focus a lot on tourism and to offer incentives to any strategic investor who is investing in Albania in hotel projects. So anybody who is coming to Albania, any serious developer who is coming to develop a 4-star or a 5-star branded hotel property is receiving a 10-year break on profit taxes, is receiving an exemption on any taxes to be paid to local government for infrastructure intervention, all of that, and is also benefiting from a VAT that is reduced from 20% to 6%. So all of these incentives are given to serious developers who are having a goal to create jobs for the country that are sustainable and long-term. Like I said, 10 million visitors is a lot. However, we have received the attention of some serious investors, not only locals, who happen to be the majority of the investors still today, but we have received some serious investors like Emaar Group from the Emirates. They are developing a 2 billion euro project in Durrës, which is, if not the largest port in the Adriatic coast, but one of the biggest. So this is a huge redevelopment project, very similar to the Ellinikon project that you have, not as large as yours, but...
There's also a rumor that the Trump family, they're looking at
yeah, there is that rumor as well. But that rumor is for another project further down south in Vlora, which we consider as the beginning of the Albanian Riviera. This would be for the development of an island, which used to be a big military base right in front of Vlora, and this would be a very high-end tourism project, encompassing some of those brands that you said 5 years ago you couldn't even find in Greece. So can you imagine in Albania? So major change, and this, of course, is bringing a different type of profile of tourists who is coming to the country. So you can move on to the slides,
you
but
can press next.
Next. So I have here just some numbers for you, just to see for yourself. But basically, it's encompassing what I just said. I mean, lots of construction permits who are being given for development of residential projects, hospitality projects, office projects. We have a government who's focusing a lot on creating an excellent stock of the future. So we have a lot of star architects coming to Albania and building the buildings of the future. we're focusing a lot on bringing green to Albania, green features. So actually through Colliers services, we've been able to certify the first LEED and the first BREEAM Excellent office building in Albania. The first. We only do the first. The rest we leave to the competition. No, it's been interesting because now clearly all these office occupiers who are serious office occupiers, they have all these ESG requirements and reporting that they have to conduct. And hopefully, as the pressure becomes a little bit bigger to do the right thing, not just to get a tick on your box of sustainability, maybe this will be more pressure for the investors to actually certify and to actually care a little bit more about the environment. So what else? Tourism, like I said.
You have more information about tourism, probably.
Yes, I do, and I put in here, we have seen last year, this is interesting, from tourism is changing on a year-by-year basis. So from the previous years where we used to attract the lower cost visitors, so the lower ticket items, let's say, now we're attracting more tourists coming from higher income countries. So we've had an increase from tourists a lot actually from Spain, which is interesting. Belgium, the Netherlands, the UK, all these markets who somehow were shunned and shut down from bigger markets like Spain. Remember those big, protests saying tourists go home, we don't want you. So they are in a different stage of development. Now they're coming and visiting our part of the world. So I would say tourism for sure is a big area of growth. In the office and retail market, I have another slide here.
Slides, yes.
Yeah, this is just showing the growth in tourism numbers. These are some of the pictures, but very similar to what you see.
These are pictures from Albania.
These are pictures from Albania. This is Albania, so this is not
Yes,
far
this
away
is
from me.
something that it's not easy for someone to comprehend.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. No, we're very lucky because, as I was traveling from Albania to Greece today, I was thinking to myself, we have so many similarities, yet you have so many people from Greece who have never been to Albania, and there needs to be a lot more of that exchange going on. And when I'm thinking of the first investors who came to Albania, actually they were Greek investors, like you mentioned, the banks. The banks, the cement factories, the developers a little bit, and then when the banks left, they left with them. Retailers were showing interest a lot before the financial crisis, and then they retreated, so due to maybe their own issues here. So there's room for growth is what I'm saying. There is room for learning from our neighbors who have been going down this path before we have. There's no need for us to reinvent the wheel when you have already invented or learned it from other players.
Learned.
Yeah, okay,
Still learning.
You invented democracy. No, I mean, for instance, all these hotel developments now, most of the brands that are coming to Albania, they are coming under franchise and management agreements. So this is, okay, good for those investments who have these long-term management agreements that you know how hard it is to get out of, if you ever want to get out of those. But if you have and you set up franchise agreements, what do? You need serious white label operators. We don't have those. So this is an excellent area.
Opportunity for hotel operators as well.
Exactly, especially from Greece, because they know the Riviera, they know the coastline. The coastline
Corfu as well. From Corfu,
is very close. And now, actually, we are in the phase where, for the first time, we're exchanging investors with our offices, where we have local Albanian investors who have become large enough to transcend borders and to come to Greece and to invest even in hospitality, because, of course, they are diversifying their portfolios like every other investor would. So with the rise in tourism, of course, there's going to be a rise in demand for more industrial space. So
what about the other sector?
Yeah, the other sector. So I have here basically key figures for office and retail. No, this is another one. Yeah, office and retail. Where the office sector is still, in my opinion, small relative to the number of people who live in Albania. It's about 189,000 square meters. The headline rent is probably one of the highest in the regions, 27 euro per square meter. Like I said, most of these buildings were built by hiring the top architects today worldwide. So some of that cost clearly is being passed down to the tenants. I think it will be a few years until the market is self-regulating and there's a little bit more pressure to the developers from the tenant side. On the retail side, I think the market it is where it is. We have one large serious player, which is Balfin Group, and Balfin Group has developed the biggest shopping centers we have in Albania. They are 100% leased. Then we have some smaller shopping centers in the main cities of Albania. I think the biggest growth is going to be in retail parks, in the development of retail parks in cities with population of over, 50, 70,000 individuals. I think that will be the next line of growth for retail. For industrial warehousing, that is offering HoReCa, type of services as well for their space, and of course, second homes, which remains very attractive. I put it in one of my previous slides. I don't know if you have it here.
It's
No?
the other
Here?
side.
Here?
Keep
I
on
don't-
going.
Yeah, probably the other one.
Next.
No?
Next.
This one?
Next.
No?
You're going back.
Yeah, I know I'm going back, but I'm trying to find where the prices
you
for the second
continue.
homes are. I cannot see this far.
Continue.
Do you see?
Continue.
No.
If you
Let's
press
see.
next, you'll find it.
Yeah. No, it's not here.
Yes.
Ah, here it is. So this is an interesting map just to show you basically the difference between all the projects that are being developed along the Adriatic coastline and then the Ionian coastline. So clearly we have higher prices that are being achieved. For the first time on the Ionian coastline, we're seeing branded residences, which are being offered from these hotel brands, who are very eager to enter the country, by the way. And they are offering this as an investment product to the buyers. So a lot of people from the diaspora are buying, people from Northern Europe are buying, and developers are achieving these prices, which we think in the next 5 years might grow by 30 to 50%. Because the demand is crazy for them. Of course, as we approach our European Union path, we opened our first chapter discussions. You've been through this route. Our colleagues here have been through this route as well. We expect to receive more funding from the EU in terms of financing infrastructure projects.
And more regulation as well, but I'm not going to say that.
That too. But, when I compare markets in our part of the world like Croatia and the journey they went through as they were going through their accession talks, and once they became a full member, prices doubled overnight, literally. So we need to be prepared for that and build the stock of the future, like you say. All these challenges that you mentioned to yourself could have been overcome by building proper stock, right? And it remains a challenge even for new investors to come into the market to reposition this older stock. So let's hope that we will build the right stock.
Before we go to Romania, go to Serbia, which is in
Yeah,
between stage.
in between, yeah.
Because Romania is actually at the end of that
Yeah,
circle,
exactly.
and they have repositioned. So maybe I'll pass it on to
Yeah.
you, Steve.
Okay.
Tell us a few things about Serbia.
Thank you.
One thing also I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
since last time is about what is going to happen in a few years from now, which I leave it as a highlight to you. But this is very interesting because that shows also the trajectory of Serbia.
Yes.
We don't have Montenegro, but it's related because also it's the hospitality. It's not the same country, but it's a hospitality arm as well. But you do see that at some point they started putting things together and moving on, which is very important. So
Correct.
I'll leave it to you to explain a few
Ioannis,
things.
first of all, thank you very much for the kind invitation. I think it's important that you're bringing the Colliers family together. But I think more importantly, we have a message to inform all of the people about. Again, I was very fortunate to be part of the Balkan expansion, being part of the Piraeus Bank Group from 2007. So I have been in the region for the last 17 years. I've seen the Greek presence, which was very, very positive, but then also sad with the retreat after all of the Greek problems. I'll touch upon a little bit during the presentation, but there has been rapid growth in our region, and I think that Greece for many, many years was stuck in its own internal problems. We're becoming stronger, and we need to be looking at our natural backyard. I think this is what the Balkans is for us. And I think one of the interesting points is that the region has gotten so developed, as Stela has mentioned, we are now starting to see the reverse. So it's not only the Greek companies and businesses going into the region, we're seeing the reverse.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing people from the Balkans coming to Greece, making serious investments, and I'll mention some of these during the course of my brief presentation. So thank you very much, Ioannis. Thank you for all the people that have stayed past the,
They have some drinks
the
to
time.
have after that. That's what I think.
So we appreciate you being here so late. So just a little bit, some figures, because again, I think that Serbia is one of the misunderstood, misrepresented countries. Everyone was telling me when I went in 2007, 2010, you're going to a bombarded country. What are you doing? I mean, why are you going? I was like, guys, you don't know what's going on. There's a whole new world out there. So just some basic statistics. Again, the population of Serbia is around 6.6 million. The GDP since the last 10 years has doubled from 30 billion to now 75 billion at the end of 2023. The growth is between 4 and 5% annually. And the most amazing thing is that they are a non-European Union country. You'll see some of the infrastructure and some of the development. So a lot of the flows have not come yet to the country, and they are at our levels in terms of some of the developments. So public debt to GDP, 48%. This is something for the people in Greece and myself.
In front of us.
I don't think
We-
that's a country.
We put N1 in front of
We cannot understand how you can grow in a meaningful way with this strength and not with leverage and not with debt. And but again, we'll talk more about it. So this is also one of the keys for the foreign investors. They're looking at the countries, they're looking at the statistics. It's important for their security, and they want to be able to come in, know what the rules of the playing field are, and then to be able to exit. And I'll give you some examples of that during the presentation. Again, inflation under control now in the area of around 4%. One significant milestone. We have been talking in Greece in previous elections, investment grade. Well, for the first time, Serbia also, a few weeks ago on October 4th from S&P, has become investment grade. So they are BBB minus with a stable outlook. This says a lot for a country that was in wartime from the 90s and the 2000s. They are practically now offering a European story, not being part of the European Union. So one very important milestone. Another important milestone for the Western Balkans. They are attracting foreign direct investment. So when you're not in the EU and you don't have all of these funds coming in, when you're able to attract more than 50% of all of the foreign direct investments have come to Serbia. If you want to look at the numbers, between 2018 and 2023, this is 23.2 billion. For any country, this is a lot. But for a small country, it means even more. And out of this amount, 7 billion is in manufacturing. So there has been a national strategy. We want to attract investors. We want to open factories. We want to be doing ribbon cuttings continuously, so they have attracted many Chinese investors, UAE, a lot of people from Russia have also invested, and you're having a lot of growth in a lot of technology sectors, and this will give prosperity for the people, standard of living, and you have stability and you have a future growth. They are manufacturing cheaply, efficiently, and effectively.
I hope not only Yugo Zastava, other stuff as
Exactly.
well. Yes.
So, as Ioannis was mentioning, well, Zastava has become, fiat. You're going to hear some of the names that have come that are huge, that have invested in the country. So this is what is amazing. And it's also, on the one hand, positive for the country. It also is showing to us what we also need to do in Greece. There is true potential to attract a lot of foreigners, a lot of investment, to utilize the population, and we have a very high level class people to work also in Greece, and this is what's also going, retaining the people in the country. So I'll just go a little bit to the main event, and then I'll also just throw some of the interesting things about the retail sectors. So Expo. So last year, Serbia and Belgrade was awarded the Expo for 2027.
Just for people to understand, tell us the previous winners of Expo before that. It was Tokyo?
Look, it was in Tokyo. It was also in the UAE, in Dubai. Also, Japan will be afterwards. So the country was competing against the US, Spain, and also the Netherlands, and they were picked. So this is a massive event. It's about 18 billion euro investment. And this is going to be, again, funded internally. And again, as our experience in Greece with the Olympics, was positive, but there was also a negative in terms of the debt that came to Greece. There is here a strategy that they will not exceed debt to GDP of 60%. 60%, so the 48 to 60. Why? They're expecting that with this very massive investment, and we'll talk about what will be happening, they will expand their GDP from 75 billion to 90 billion. So, infrastructure, hospitality, shopping centers, residential, new national stadium. So a lot is going to go on. There is a new city practically that will be built.
Where is that? Is it in the waterfront?
So it is, no, it is actually close to the airport, which again, just for people to understand, it's also a Greek concession agreement. So Terna, together with Vinci from
Airport.
France, have the concession of the Belgrade airport, Nikola Tesla. So close to that area, which is around, let's say, 20 kilometers away from the center, there will be a new city that will be developed. So there's over 11 million square meters of land that will be developed for all of the facilities for the expo. Again, major infrastructure, but also all of the facilities that will be used for the expo.
And how is
So-
construction going on?
Can you say it again?
How is construction going on right now?
Look, there is a deadline that everything needs to be finished January 1st, 2027. They want to be able to have a period of at least 6 months to be able to have everything operational
Yeah.
and tested in order for these 92 days, so it's only 92 days. And again, there have been things that have already started to work. There's still a couple of more years ahead, but trust me, they will be ready. They will be ready. Just to talk a little bit about real estate. So again, here, what is something to talk about? Residential. As I mentioned earlier, there was a very, very big need for a lot of new development to happen. The state approached it in a very clever way. They took one of the most distressed areas in the center of the city. If I need to do a parallelism with Greece, maybe it is the industrial zone, Trapezona, everyone understands what this is. And they decided to make a 2.5 billion project, equivalent to something like the Elliniko, in partnership with the UAE developer, Eagle Hills, which is the Amar group that Stella spoke previously about.
Which we
So-
haven't found a way to bring them to Greece, by the way. We
Exactly.
tried, yeah.
So
We
this
will
is
succeed, Ioannis.
Hmm?
We will succeed.
huge opportunities.
They left and then they came there. Yeah.
So this is a mixed-use project on the River Sava, 1.8 million square meters. There is a 42-story tower, the Kula of Belgrade. There is the largest shopping center in Southeast Europe before the shopping centers in Ellinikon will be constructed. Total area of around 300,000 square meters. More than 7,000 apartments have been constructed. This is a live construction
Massive.
site.
And may I say that the first luxury hotel, Synergies, was actually opened a few
Exactly,
weeks
this
ago
month.
there,
Yeah,
This month.
Oh, great.
which is the first luxury hotel of that caliber that
Exactly.
opened in Serbia as well.
So
Yeah.
just to throw some numbers that are astonishing someone to be thinking that this would be happening in Serbia. So out of the 42 floors, 9 floors are the hotel. Then there are service departments. And the price per square meters even went up to 10,000 euros per square meter.
No, I'm not surprised.
So we were not used to hearing such numbers in such an underdeveloped market.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot is going on. Expo will also contribute more to this. And it's a landmark and has changed the entire skyline of Belgrade.
When will this not be ready, but be less construction, more operational?
Look, for the last 6 to 7 years, Belgrade waterfront has been constructed. It's ongoing, but again, the majority has already been completed.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
They are extending even more because of the scope. You cannot find apartments that are available, and you're having prices like in Greece, 3,000 to 4,000 euros per
The
square
locals
meter.
are buying or the
And locals and foreign, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
You have a very big diaspora as well
So,
of Serbian people that also want to come back to their homeland. So very, very interesting project. It's like a mini Dubai, if I need it. But again, something equivalent to what Ellinikon will be experiencing
and just to
coming.
conclude, obviously shopping malls is a big thing, and
Yes.
there were a lot of transaction, new openings. But in terms of the office market, I think it's not as developed or is developed because obviously then it was Romania who is much stronger on that.
Exactly. Look, post-COVID, there has been a huge demand for Class A office.
Yes.
And what we're starting to see is that, first of all, there's not enough space. There have been major investments in the country. But what is the significant point now with Serbia being on the radar again? We're seeing large transactions happening, which you would only see in Western Europe and in the United States. So there was one portfolio that was sold a couple of years ago, 11 office buildings, 120,000 square meters. So it was the GTC portfolio, which was acquired by Indotech from Hungary, 267.6 million.
That's impressive.
And the
You're not
tenants?
hearing transactions like this happening, portfolios. So we have experienced in Serbia, greenfield, you're buying the land, you're developing, you're reaching the point of having very high occupancy, and then you're having transactions. So this is what has been changing in the market. Before, you would not see these things, but now we're on the radar. So a lot of big investments from Israel, Czech Republic. So there's a lot going on, and also the local partners as well.
And
Right.
you had another big transaction in Big Bot, I think,
Exactly.
from Nepi.
Yeah.
So-
Nepi Rokas.
I will talk about this is in the retail part. This is
Alright,
coming
okay.
in the next slide. So if you look, again, same thing, the growth, more square meters. Standard of living has been improving. And again, Serbia compared to CE, where the average is something like 550 square meters per 1,000 inhabitants, currently Serbia is at 350. So there still is room to grow. But the amount and the sizes of the facilities is what's impressive. So the Belgrade waterfront, around 300,000, as I mentioned. And as you just mentioned, practically 15 days ago, Big C, an Israeli group, bought one shopping center for 177 million euro in a secondary city, in Novi Sad, not even in Belgrade. So you're having a lot of foreign investors that have been in the region after the 2000, they have grown, and now they're taking their capital gains, and then they're going to invest elsewhere, or they're going to do other things as well.
Okay.
Amazing
Just
stuff.
to wrap up, to go to Romania.
Yes.
Except from all this fascinating, is there any other theme that we need to be aware about?
One more thing about logistics, and again, this is
Yes.
also due to the central location of Serbia. From the railways to the highways and everything, there is massive trade that is going on in the region. This has also attracted a lot of foreign investors from CTP, from the Czech Republic, to others from Belgium and other countries as well. So this is another area
Logistics.
that will be developing. Exactly.
And where is the main hub? Is like Belgrade, or
It's
is
Belgrade.
it Belgrade?
Yes, and there's a wider region,
And this is
some
because of
industrial
its
zones.
proximity as well, because it's close
Exactly.
to Hungary, close to Central Eastern Europe, I might
Exactly.
say. Is that the case? Yeah,
So
okay.
one of the Greek companies that had invested, many years ago, Lambda, had a huge property that was going to be used, again, mixed use and for logistics. So people were seeing ahead. And again, a lot has happened. There's still a lot more in the future. And I think that it would be interesting, and due to the Colliers network and the investors that we know and the developers, there is a lot still to be done in the region. And we can start to exchange from our clients to investors, and coming to Serbia and coming to Greece. A lot can happen, Ioannis.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you.
I have to pass the baton to
Thank you.
our friend here, Robert, and I have Socrates as well, not to forget. There is also an interesting point about Cyprus that everybody needs to see, so stay with us, don't go.
How many minutes do I have?
You do have 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
But just to start with Romania, so we started Albania, which is growing, started becoming a bit of Serbia. We have Serbia, who is in one step ahead and obviously bigger. But then we go to Romania, which is a much bigger market in the EU. It had its own efforts to grow. But I think you're at a stage where you have attracted more institutional investors. And so we want to hear the story ahead.
Yes, so very nice to be, and I feel privileged to be in your beautiful city. My second time in Athens. First time I didn't see too much, now a little bit more, and maybe I come back. So that's very nice, and also thank you for making this happen amongst us. It's very interesting to see some of the names and capital sources. You know, the banking sector that you mentioned played a very important role also in Romania, not least Piraeus Bank. You know, my slides are more visual, so they are lighter. Hopefully I'll get them quickly done. But also some of the investors that were mentioned, it's very interesting that they are present also in Romania, and they are not many, but some of them either started in Romania or have grown very much in clout, in power through the Romanian market. So I think that is very interesting to see them also in other regions now. So Romania has been in the EU since 2007. We are 20 million in population, so that's fairly big. We are also, and I looked this up in dollars, so $370 billion of GDP. I believe we are now number 12 in Europe.
As a total.
As a total, yes. And behind us are countries like Hungary, Greece, Czechia even. And we are closing on, hopefully quickly, on Denmark. So in terms of total economic activity, that's pretty significant. Also in terms of GDP per capita, PPP, so purchasing power parity, I think we are now ahead of countries like Hungary, so you know, countries that are more to the west. So that's very interesting. And we achieved that, and I have a map there, without basically having our infrastructure built out. So I don't know if you see it, but only the green lines are the motorways, the fast motorways that exist. The red and the blue, the red is under construction, the blue is only planned. So I'm very excited about it.
It looks like Greece. We also have a lot of orange lines.
Yeah. Actually, I'm very excited about this because I am not a macroeconomist and I cannot give you a projection, but just imagine what kind of catalyst this will be to future growth. I mean, the Polish story was very, very successful development, and I think that their infrastructure played a huge role. So this is very exciting. We also have, you know, a chart there that shows how low the density is. Even Bulgaria is double on a pro rata basis in terms of highway. So this is very big. I put a picture with our port. So Piraeus port obviously is one of the most important in Europe. I'm not an expert in ports, but apparently the Constanța port, while it doesn't show up in the container traffic, you know, in the top rankings, but actually in terms of tonnage, so that must be serious or things like that don't go into container, it is one of the leading ports in Europe. So that's very interesting, and I think it has a lot of potential, and maybe also cooperation with Greece on that front. So I apologize, I need to look at, I don't see what is there nor there, so I need to look here. But very briefly, office market, retail market, so just some nuggets. In terms of the office market, we have about 4 million square meters of modern stock in Bucharest, which is a lot, but if you're critical about it, especially nowadays with ESG, et cetera, so the truly modern stock is not that big, but still, it's a very big stock. We have about 400,000 square meters of activity every year, which is basically every kind of releasing, expansion, movement. But we also follow the net absorption, and that's about, you know, used to be higher, now it went down to 100,000 square meters. What is very interesting on that chart is that the supply is going to zero, basically. So it's a very interesting moment in the office market today, and the owners and prospective buyers of office buildings, I think, can find themselves in a very good position because there's no stock, and we see rental growth in pockets of the market, which is very interesting in offices, especially if you look at Western Europe, you know, United States, and all the scary stories about offices.
I also see you're buying a lot of clothes.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. Very diplomatic to go forward, but yeah, offices I'm quite excited about actually, and it's one of the most liquid markets as well. Good. Retail, just one chart about retail. I don't even know what our stock is. I think we have 4 million square meters of shopping centers, modern shopping centers in Romania, 4 or 5, something like that. But Romania ranks actually #1 according, I'm relying on my research department here, both in general retail profitability of retailers. I'm not sure if food is in there, and on this chart it's only the clothing, the fashion. So at 16%, retailers are having a great time, and I think we will see more retailers coming in, and there's still more potential to develop retail in Romania. INL, you will see that since 2020, basically we had, so this is growing very strongly, the entire sector. We have doubled kind of the pace of take-up in the country, coming from kind of 400,000-500,000 square meters to 800,000 square meters take-up annually. The country is growing. So Bucharest is very strong. It used to have, still has about half of the stock, 4 million and 4 million in the countryside. But, and that's an important thing, actually. I didn't mention it on the first slide, but Romania is actually a bit of a multipolar country. So Bucharest is very strong, 2.3 million officially, unofficially, who knows how many, we don't really know. It's a very big concentration of population. But we also have strong secondary cities in the 500, 400,000 inhabitants zone. And that is where we are seeing also poles of industrial space coming up. That second chart is super interesting because it shows you the density of industrial and logistics space, which is one of the lowest, again, in Europe. But it also, the black dot shows you the consumption in terms of actual volumes of consumed goods, whatever that is. You see how high it is. The Romanian consumer.
You need to increase the stock.
The Romanian consumer spends a lot, and actually there's a lot of stock that still can be built, or low density today. Investment market. We are turning over around, on average, around 1 billion euros every year, which is not bad, not too good. Here we are counting only purchase of commercial property. We are not, capturing the entire market, but most of the market, most of what we call more institutional market. So that's not a bad. Of course, it went down. Now it's coming up again. Maybe this year we might hit 1 billion. Yields. You see that there's a healthy spread when you compare it to Budapest, Prague, Warsaw, Munich, even. So our prime yields are, more or less around 7.5% across the sectors, I would say, give or take 25 basis points, which is very good. But the other story, which is very, very interesting, and I think even for investors, from the region, is, listening to Stela, listening to Steve. Actually, you can buy in Bucharest pretty good prime stock, I would say, for maybe not anymore for 2,500 euros, but 3,000 euros you can buy. And maybe the creme a la creme would be, I don't know, 3,500 something per leasable area with tenants inside, so not just the property. And at this year, and that kind of capital value, I think it's a very interesting proposition. Okay, quickly, I think
that's very interesting.
when I was preparing this, I have 2 slides here. One, the listed equities, and then private equity. So as I was preparing this, we don't have many, but we have already a healthy amount of listed players. And the most notable ones here, Napi Rockcastle, Global Worth, I would say, have, Napi started in Romania. Today, Napi has 7 billion of GAV, or market cap, or GAV. I think it's GAV, but it's a very significant player. They bought in Belgrade. They sold in Belgrade. They bought very recently in Poland one shopping center for 370 million. So this is capital that came from South Africa, but it grew in Romania. That's where they started. They have like about half of the stock, or of the value of the portfolio, or maybe 40%, I don't know. It's getting smaller because now they are in Bulgaria. They are in other countries, Poland, very big. So anyway, a very great success story, and that's good to have them in Romania. Global Worth, I don't know if anybody knows Mr. Papalekas, but
Some people might.
he started Global World in Romania, so I like to think that there's Greek capital there and certainly Greek management, and that has been a very successful story. He sold that very nice.
And do you have like Greek players who have been active in Romania?
I'll get there in a moment. I just want to say on the industrial front, CTP, their biggest, this is a Dutch-Czech company, their biggest market is Romania. CTP is a 14 billion GAV player. So it's and also you see the flags there, so it's quite diverse.
You do have that. Yes.
I do have, but I also had. Okay, I don't have it anymore. I had also had private equity, which was interesting. Let's talk about the Greek investors. So, Blue House, Zeus, Blue House developed a lot in Romania. Zeus still own two prime offices. Of course, Global World has an entire very large portfolio. You know these names. I mean, some of them are big players, but don't have big holdings in the country. But the Greek investors, and I think here I have photos. So these are mostly offices, but really nice offices that were developed in central, good quality assets, and Greek capital had a role in all of these projects.
It strikes me, and whoever is not familiar, maybe a lot of people are familiar, not in this room, but generally speaking, they understand Romania has a very strong office market and industrial market.
True.
Yeah.
And one of the things I have been asked here to do a lot of times is to do a study about, if we want to grow the office footprint in Athens or in new areas in Athens, who should we attract? And we always go around the existing tenants. We cannot move one tenant from one location to another. Probably they want to stay around where they are because, those who decide probably don't change house all the time. But you have managed to attract non-Romanian corporates. And obviously, they're hiring Romanian people who are very well educated and very savvy on the digital aspects, but they're not just hiring them, they're actually bringing talent from elsewhere as well. How have you done that? I mean, I'm talking about more on the tenant side.
I think you answered it. I think these corporations go after talent, after skills, and skills need to be technical skills. The more it develops and goes from low added value to higher added value, which definitely happened in Romania. And they're also looking for language skills, and they found that.
And you do have like American universities, American schools?
We do, but the Romanian universities, especially on the STEM side, are quite strong. So I think, and the programming sector is pretty strong in Romania, so that attracted big IT companies. So the most notable example is, for instance, Oracle, which leased at some point, they had in Bucharest 60,000 square meters. Of course, then the COVID came, and they have retrenched and work from home and everything. But still, there's many not everybody's at 60,000. Of course, they are let's say the peak, who are the peak, but many American, Western companies came in and drove and that's why our in the office market for the past quite many years, it was not unusual to have single asset sales of over 100 million euros in offices.
So it has proven that there is exit in this market because you do have local international investors.
So liquidity, of course, we also say and cry about not enough liquidity, because we always compare yourself with the bigger markets. With Poland is of course attracting a lot, and then Western Europe, and some investors just don't come. They don't move out of the States. They don't
comfort zone.
Exactly, but we have more and more are coming. Okay. So that's good.
Right. That gives me the opportunity to finish with Cyprus.
Thank you.
And one of the things that you will discuss about is obviously the basic aspects of growth, but I think we will finish food for thought for everybody. What Cyprus? Doesn't matter its size. It's very important. How it thinks about the world and how it incentivizes people to go. I think I leave it to you.
Thank you, Ioannis. Thank you for your insightful views on how the markets are interconnecting in the Balkans. So, as Ioannis said, Cyprus is a small market, 700,000 people, but it's so close to Greece and so far from Greece at the same time. So they always have to find some ways to live well with the neighborhoods and the neighbors, and as well as keep the ties with the Greek mother country. So as we see historically, Cyprus has been able to reinvent itself many times during the past 50 years. First 1974, then 1980s, then 2013, the bail-in. What was the great financial crisis for the rest of the world? It was the 2013 for the Cypriot economy, when everyone lost almost 50% of their deposits and their net worth. And then 2020, the Lebanon crisis, 2022, Russian invasion in Ukraine, and then 2023, the Israel crisis. However, we can see that despite the fact that it's been a very small market, it's been very active in terms of transactions, and on the way it thinks how to reposition itself among the international investors and also the local players as well.
I mean, you have put a map there for people to understand. We see the world upside down.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And we don't see Greece above Cyprus, but we see a whole other region
Exactly.
that Cyprus is targeting. Is that like a strategic thing?
This is a strategic positioning because Cyprus, as I said earlier, is closer. It's like 30, 40 minutes from Tel Aviv and the Lebanon beaches. So Greece is too far away, practically. So you have to keep thinking how to make things right, how to do business, how to trade with your neighbors. So they always look at this way. That's why they have this cultural, if you would like, approach with these Middle East countries, and they always feel more welcome from these countries and vice versa. So Cyprus actually joined Eurozone back in the early 2000s, but at the same time has kept strong ties to these markets, always attracting local capital from these markets, being the first actually refuge when the crisis was around in the corner of this neighborhood.
Yeah,
Which seems, in what we have understood from a recent visit, is that they're actually benefiting from every crisis that has happened.
I was
Exactly.
gonna say.
So,
Yeah.
despite the fact of being a very small market with idiosyncrasies, as I said earlier, in 2013 we had this big bail-in event. They managed to turn around the market by thinking strategically. They introduced the Golden Visa program.
Yeah.
So they were able to turn around the whole real estate market because
The
that
Golden Passport program.
golden passport, if you'd like, yes. They were able to turn around the whole market. It's not a small market in terms of transactions. The transaction volume is close to maybe 5.5 billion today in terms of transaction value and 21,000 total transactions.
Do you have
total
any
volume.
data? Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So we can see here the evolution of the transaction volume and value going all the way from 1.1 billion all the way to 5.5 billion within the 10-year period. So this is how they
That's
reinvent
impressive.
themselves from the bail-in to today. In terms of course, transaction types, the residential asset type is the dominant asset that's been transacted in the market with 13,000 transactions and close to 3.4 billion euros worth of transactions. It also leads the demand for land for development with close to 1.1 billion worth of transactions in land. So you have 4.5 billion out of the 5.5. And I have to stress here that the 5.5 estimation in terms of
I
value
should
transactions.
say that these numbers are not made up because
No.
Cyprus,
Yes.
compared to Greece at least, and other countries, but I don't want to mention other countries, is one of the most transparent
Indeed.
markets in terms of registering transactions at the real price.
These are readily available in the Central Bank of Cyprus.
We have the best probably land registry.
Indeed.
We would like to have at least 50% of that.
Indeed.
So this happened after the golden passports?
This has happened after
After the
2013.
crisis, financial crisis.
So it was just after the bail-in. So you can see they had are now standing on 5 times their initial
Yeah.
transaction
I saw that. That's amazing.
value. What's more important is that if we focus on the left-hand side, the lower graph, you can see the participation of the foreigner buyers. You can see that they have matched up and even surpassed the local buyers.
The local market, yeah.
So
In
if
Greece, to give you an example, the foreign buyers, the
Yeah.
so-called foreign buyers, not in a specific sector, it would be bigger, but it's around 10% or 20%, depending on the sector. We're
That's
talking
it?
about more than 50%, 60%.
That's amazing.
Indeed. And what's more important, these figures do not include actually the private transaction. What do you mean private transaction? When you
Yeah.
transact on the SPV level,
Yeah.
these are not recorded here. So
It's
if you take,
asset-based transactions.
so if you have asset-based transactions from a private equity
Mm-hmm.
or from a large conglomerate that they exchange, like selling shares in a retail mall,
Yes.
or if you're selling shares in a resort, then these are not recorded here. So probably the actual
Bigger.
transaction value is
Much
larger.
higher.
It's closer to maybe 9, 10 billion euros worth of transactions. So what it's really interesting is the building permits and how construction has told in terms of the overall offered surface, but you can see how they change the product and how they change the strategy and the mix. So going from all the way of 3.7 million square meters back in 2008 to 2.3 million square meters in 2023, but with the total building permits almost been exactly the same at 7,000 building permits. That means that they adjusted the overall mix to meet the foreign demand, and they created this demand.
Good.
So even when around 2016, 2017, the golden visa, the golden passport strategy was at its peak, they thought, okay, let's build more of these high-end product. But when they reached the peak in 2020, 2021, and they stopped this program,
They didn't stop. They actually
They retracted.
they banned them from continuing
indeed.
the project. And instead of crying, they
Yeah.
actually felt we should do
Actually, they
something with
created
this
a new
project.
strategy. They said, okay, let's be creative here. We have Brexit. What does that mean? Where does it leave us? We have to be the financial hub of the South Mediterranean. So we will give the incentives to financial institutions, we'll give the incentives to technology companies to come here and build up their own infrastructure. We'll give the tax breaks, we'll give incentives in terms of moving employees here, and we'll give incentives also in
But
building up.
Is this like a central strategy? Do they have a vision about that?
Of course, there's actually this is all depicted in
If you go back one.
in 2030. It's called Cyprus Vision 2035. So in 2020, during the COVID period, the COVID era, they reinvented their strategy. They said, let's do something and attract real, actually, economic activity.
Yeah.
Because if you have the economic activity, this will drive growth. Growth will drive investment in real estate,
That's true.
and that will turn around
It's
the
a big
economy.
circle.
So in terms of this overall strategy framework, they provided these fast-track incentives. You can move your whole workforce within maybe 1 to 2 months from, let's say, a European country to Cyprus, with visas waiting for them ready there, with incentives, tax incentives for the company and the
And
employees.
employees, smart.
Yes, and also incentives to construct real estate that will house these employees. So you give the full package.
Smart.
And office.
Natural boom.
And offices. So this is
Very
the next
smart.
best thing. So the
Which
Cyprus
goes
market.
back to Romania.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're still with us, but it goes back to Romania. That's how you create
indeed.
tenants
Yeah, of
Indeed.
course.
Yes.
where you don't have. Therefore, how that then the real estate reacts, and then the investors come because
Yeah.
this is a good product and it's a national tenant
Yeah.
with a workforce who wants to stay there.
Indeed. So they created the market also not only for residential but also for prime offices, because right now what happened is the following. You had developed a large office buildings in Limassol, which is the commercial city center in Cyprus, but suddenly you had also to have some new office buildings in Nicosia. You had also to have some in Paphos, in other places as well. So, and you have also some new companies that have already joined the program, like large forex trading companies in Limassol, that they're making so much money that they don't know what to do with that. So they start buying real estate.
Sure.
And they're driving the market
growth
further
even
and
more.
further
Yeah,
and
yeah,
further. So this is a strategic approach, as Jens
Very smart.
pointed out. Despite being a small country, a small market, it always finds ways to reinvent the
And
market.
Socrati, I think relevant to Greece as well, is that they are not just focused on tourism.
That's it.
No.
Of course,
Yeah.
Because they could focus only on tourism,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
getting better,
Yeah.
but they are diversifying. by
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Of course, and we can see they're quite extrovert. And we can see right now capital allocators coming into Cyprus during the past 4 years, acquiring new or old projects and refurbishing them with the local allocators exiting, diversifying, looking for new places to allocate their capital, like Greece or maybe Israel or other places. And at the same time, you can see international private equity funds, even Greek real estate investment companies, started investing in Cyprus properties officially during the past 2 years, but officially also in the past 6 months, buying a finished office product
Crazy.
in Nicosia, and some more to come in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And to wrap up, and then just to conclude, because the time is zero here,
Yeah.
is that one of the things we saw is that there are buildings in Lemesos, correct? Obviously, when you walk around Lemesos, it looks more international rather than national. I mean, even the service industry. This
Yeah.
is not because of tourism. It's actually people who living and working there are, international, and a lot of South Africans as well.
Yeah.
But in one living, you have Israelis, Lebanese,
On the same building.
In the same building.
Yes, on the same building. Maybe on the same
While they're
floor.
at war.
Ukrainians
Amazing.
and Russians
Oh my God.
In the same floor.
Yeah.
in the same apartment building.
Yeah, oh my God. Because my question was going to
Without
be, with
fighting
the
with each
golden
other, by the
passports,
way.
are they actually living there, or are they just buying the real
No, they
estate
are
just to
living.
They're
park
living,
their
living.
cash?
They're living.
No,
They're
living there.
They're actually,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
whole point. They're living there.
Which is good, because you want people to live there.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, to wrap up, probably, and wrap up the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
some landmark projects that they are coming, have already come in the market, and they're coming in the market in the
This
next
is why we
years.
have land bank. A lot of people buying land as well.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
So they are buying land for development, not land in general. Of course, there is this, it's prevailing also the huge residential demand and supply imbalance that we see also in the other countries. And that drives also sustainable, affordable housing development for the locals
Oh, good.
alongside the higher end product.
So they don't protest.
I think we can stop the presentation to wrap
Very
up.
clever.
If you're still with us.
If
They're
you're
not.
still with us.
But anyway, you just give it to me. All right. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for the excellent insight. I didn't know any of those things before 3-4 months ago. So I'm not. I was fascinated by being able to understand those markets. And I'm very disappointed, but very hopeful at the same time. Very disappointed of how we see the world from a real estate perspective,
Yes.
obviously, and how many are very fascinated because of the opportunities and the synergies.
So true.
So to wrap up, why someone should invest, and I'll start from you, sorry for that, should invest in Romania, just not one word, but a quick sentence, based on, in real estate, obviously. Yeah.
Growth at the economy level and in every sector of real estate. And I think, this is a relative statement, but I think good yields and very good capital value, like relatively low capital
And
value.
exits
And the good, relatively liquid market to exit into.
with,
yeah.
track record of exits.
Yes.
So clearly, we're at an earlier stage of development than the rest of these markets, but I would say there's a huge potential for an upside, especially in second homes and hospitality. So for sure, there's growth in that arena, also in the retail sector, in the retail park sector, for sure. As
And also
consumption
you
is
mentioned
growing.
professional services, like
Professional
operational
services,
management
for
of hotels.
sure, for sure, for sure.
Steve?
Yeah.
I think as I tried to explain, there's a lot of future growth in Serbia. I think that the first movers that came from Greece, whether it was in the hospitality business, Lamsa that has the Hyatt and Excelsior, or the Skaladonakis family that has the Metropole, these people came in the right time, but there's still growth. So in the retail, we also have, Veropoulos that doesn't exist anymore in Greece, but he's very big, and in Serbia and also in North Macedonia. So there are still a lot of opportunities. I think it's our natural backyard, and especially the ties between Greece and Serbia, secondary home. So there are a lot of Serbian people that are coming to Halkidiki. They want to have their home and their vacations. So there are important ties there, and national ties and religious ties. But also, as I mentioned in the beginning, people are investing now in Greece. So when you visit the Sport Vision and you buy some of your athletic goods, they're from Serbia and Bosnia. They're huge. They're in 14 markets of Europe. When you go to Lili, which is something like condos that has come to Greece. So you're starting to see the reverse. So I think that there's a lot that can be done, a lot of mutual cooperations. And I think there's an upside, and it's a win-win for all of us in the entire region.
I would say the strategic approach to real estate investment with huge actually growth prospects in institutional attractive project that will attract not only private equity funds, but also institutional investors in the form of small family offices, offering liquidity and also growth prospects in the integrated residence projects and prime yielding office buildings in the future.
And you believe the same for hospitality? Do you see investors? Should we bring some of the investors who are looking at the product in Greece?
Yeah, but hospitality is a different thing. I think the market might be saturated right now because the majority of the hotels in Cyprus are owned by family companies, family offices, if you like. So unless they're looking to exit, and I don't think that's the case, there's not much space for any new product in the market.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank you for
staying
your
with
time.
us. And there are drinks to be served.